Hey guys, and welcome to another Anno Shadow Modeler. In this video, we're going to make a display base that includes an explosion. So I know you've seen me make a number of different displays throughout the videos that I've posted here, but one thing that I've always wanted to try was a dynamic looking display with an explosion. First of all, this display is going to be used for another snowspeeder that I'm building, and rather than devote any more time to that model, I'm just going to devote this video towards making this display. So what I've done here first is I've mounted some styrofoam filler here for our rocks, and then I've cut out some styrene pieces of plastic to try to resemble the ground blasting out this way. And so I've attached it to the base with some hot glue and filled in the gaps in between with hot glue as well. And the plan is to take our plaster of Paris and mold out our landscape, or sculpt out our landscape, I should say, and also shape the areas here to make it hopefully look like the ground is coming out from underneath the explosion there. I've drilled a hole in the middle here where we can mount a bright LED that will light up the cotton that we're going to be using for the cloud of the explosion. And of course this is going to be a winterized looking base, so we're going to again use our precision ice and snow materials. Alright, so our stand is dry, and you can see I have two areas of impact versus just a single one I was working on. The next step now is to experiment with creating the plume of smoke from the explosion. So that's done with using cotton, and there's a couple approaches I'm going to take here and just experiment and see which one works the best. So I want the cotton to be glowing kind of like this orange-yellow color from the inside, and there's a couple ways we can achieve that. One is we can leave the cotton white with just painting the tips of it black or dark gray, and the glow will come then from solely the LED. Now I experimented a little bit with that, and I liked the color I was getting from it. The LED that I'm going to be using is going to be a 3mm LED that's been painted with Tamiya's clear orange. I'm going to do that versus using a pre-tinted bulb. The ones that come already orange would glow a very intense orange, and I just don't want it to be that intense of a color. The other option we can try with the cotton is to not only paint the edges of it black, but to also apply some orange-yellow color to the cotton itself, in which case we may end up getting a more vibrant color. So let's go ahead and experiment a little bit, see which one works out best. Alright, well you can see the effect is pretty convincing. We've got a 5mm LED going on here, and I think that's what I'm going to end up using because it's giving us some nice intensity. I didn't have any 3mm, so I experimented with this 5, and I like what I'm seeing. So a combination of painting the bulb as well as the cotton works out well here. I tried it without the cotton painted, and it was a little bit, well, not as intense, and so I think this was working out pretty well. Also bear in mind that the LED will be mounted facing up into the cotton, so we'll get a lot more intense light in the center. Also you can see the black is working out pretty well with creating some areas of density there. So before proceeding on with the display, I'm going to go ahead and spend just a few more minutes on painting the cotton balls. Alright, so first I have some cotton here that I got from CVS, and you can use pillow filling and all kinds of other materials as well. You can get it at craft stores, but the explosion I'm making for this diorama is not very big. So this is just a regular cotton ball here that I've kind of shaped, and when you watch tutorials now, other people making these sorts of things, particularly those that involve World War II dioramas, you're going to see a lot of black that's being painted on the fireball as well. And that's certainly because you're depicting a scenario where something is actively burning, so you've got oils and other materials that are burning there, so it's going to cause a lot of black smoke and soot. In this particular diorama, I'm not doing that simply because I just want a fireball on the snow. Now obviously if lasers were to hit the snow, you're not going to really see that. You know, certainly by adding these types of explosions, it just makes the display a little more dynamic. That's really all I'm after here. So that's why you'll see mine just painted an orange color with some black mixed into it, but not as much as you'd see in, say, a World War II diorama. Okay, so I'm just going to apply a light coloration first. And I'm purposely leaving some areas white because we want some of that to show through. Now the one color I don't have available is yellow, which I'd like to add, so I'm going to do that a little bit later, but for this demonstration here we're just going to use this orange and then a black. So when we paint our black now, I'm going to go ahead and try to paint mainly just the upper edges, and really the goal there is just like you saw when I lit up the display, is to get a little bit more density, just to depict a little more density in that cloud. Okay, so what I'm going to do is for one of these I'll add more black than the other, so this one I'm just going to lightly coat here. And there's really just no pattern to this, I'm just randomly choosing areas here to, because you have to kind of think in your head as it explodes where areas would be denser and so forth. So, and then we'll go ahead and paint a little bit more black here with this one. Okay, so let's just see how this turns out. Okay, so we have our light source on. This is a 5mm LED that I'm using for the display here. It has a flickering effect to it, and it's been painted. It started off as a warm LED, white LED, and I just tinted it with a Tamiya clear orange. And let's just put our fireball over it, and you can see the effect that we're getting here, and it's very convincing, actually. And just as you're seeing it here on the video, it is how it looks in person. Okay, so here we have our fireball here, which has just a little bit of the black on there, again, just to increase density of certain areas here. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and put our other one, which has more black on it. Let's just see what this looks like. I'm just curious. Alright, and you can imagine if we put even more black, you'll have denser, darker areas here, while you have other areas where the light is shining through. So it really makes it look like there's, you know, intense heat right here, and you've got this black stuff. Let me go ahead and add just a little more black paint to this, and let's see what happens when we do that. Okay, so we have more black now, and go ahead and put that over. And you can see the contrast now that we have between certain areas here versus some other areas. Okay, and just by pulling here and there, you know, just reshaping our cloud. And I added just a little bit more black here to the top, and you can see how different it looks here. Again, let's put our other one on that hardly has any black on it, and you can see it's more just a fireball here. So you can really go for a lot of different effects, you know, and you can, as you reshape it, you can thin out certain areas which will get more light exposure through, and just play around with it. But very happy with the way this is turning out. It's something that you should experiment with. It's a lot of fun to try and do here. Okay, so we're applying the snow now, and this time I decided to go ahead and purchase a tea bag holder, and this acts as a little sieve here. I'm just tapping it here, and you can see it applies the snow in a much more even fashion versus using a spoon. First applied some hairspray, and then after this is done, we'll let it dry, kind of brush off the stuff that hasn't adhered, and then we'll apply some more. And just thought I'd show you, I'm using this vise here. It's handy as a holder for our tea bag holder. This is a vise I got at Harbor Freight, and just draped over a cloth so that the stuff doesn't get into the mechanism here. Alright, you can see we have our lights flickering away now. Everything's been hooked to the switch, and I've placed the cotton here. And let me just show you what it looks like off. So let me go ahead and turn this off for you, if I can remember where I put the switch. Alright, here we go. So we're turning them off. And let me turn on this overhead light. You can see it looks pretty plain when it's not lit. And I'm going to go ahead and turn this off and turn our lights back on. And you can see this is the effect we're getting. So what I'm going to do is secure the cotton into place with just a tiny bit of hot glue here and there off to the sides. And then all I'm doing here now is just shaping the cotton so that we can get the effect that we're after. And basically what I want is the intensity of the light to glow more towards the middle, of course, and towards the bottom. And I want some of that intensity to peek through, so I'm just kind of gently pulling the cotton apart and just shaping it so that we can get the look that we're after here. And so I'm going to go ahead and continue to play with this, And the next step will be for me to go ahead and build a snowspeeder, which I'm not going to really feature in this video, of course. I'm just going to show you the finished display and model here in just a second. Alright everybody, here we now have the completed project. Again, our goal here was to create a display that had simulated explosions. This was again accomplished using cotton balls here that were painted and then lit with a 5mm flickering LED. And just getting a little closer here now to the cotton balls. The cotton is glowing kind of a yellowish color here on screen as I'm looking at the video footage. In person it is more of an orange color. Again, the cotton balls are lit with a 5mm flickering LED. It was painted with Tamiya's clear orange, and then for the cotton balls I used Testors International Orange. I didn't put a lot of black on the cotton balls, as I mentioned earlier in the video. I just wanted just a little bit of black to give it some varying density there. And the plaster of Paris worked really well to give us the illusion that we've got ground coming up with this explosion. And of course, the precision ice and snow snow powder is very effective in creating a winterized display. Taking a closer look at the snowspeeder now. Again, this is my second attempt at building one of these. This is the Bandai 1/48 scale model of the snowspeeder from Empire Strikes Back. Really nice kit. I'd highly recommend it. One thing I did want to point out, however, is one critique I did have from the last build was that I felt that some of the pieces didn't fit quite flush up against the hull as I wanted them to, so there were some small little gaps here and there. Now, one thing that I did decide to omit was a piece that fits underneath this one here. And you can see it in the instructions. That is this piece right here. Now, that piece actually has some detailing on it, and because it is a little bit of an irregular surface, this piece as it fits over, there's some spacing in between. So I decided to omit that piece so I can get the section nice and flush up against the hull, and sure enough it worked out quite nicely there. The other thing that I was able to do is to put the model together as it was intended. If you recall, in the last model I had to actually piece the model together while it was on the stand because of the way the lighting was set up. I had placed or installed the lighting for the cockpit area there. But since I was able to put it together properly this time, all the pieces fit pretty snug as I was able to apply the correct amount of pressure. When painting this kit, I'd highly recommend doing the salt technique. I know there are a number of different ways now that you can achieve a chipping effect for your paint, but I really do feel that the salt technique works really well because it comes out with more of a stippled effect, and then the chips are a little tinier, which seem to go in scale with this model scale here. The other thing that was helpful again was just using some liquid masking fluid for some of the other chipping effects I got with the stripes. And then utilizing the Precision Ice and Snow wash for the windows there. You're able to apply this effect where you see some buildup of ice along the windows, and I did apply or just brush on a very light coating here and there onto the windows just to give us the illusion of frost. Alright you guys, well thanks again for watching. This project is pretty much done here now, and if you have any questions about it, feel free to contact me here on my YouTube channel as always, or at interstellarmodeler@gmail.com. 2017's coming to a close here. It was fun to try some new things with the channel, including some of those interviews that you saw, so I hope to try some more of that in 2018. And I certainly have some interesting projects and models waiting in the wings for the coming year. So thanks again for watching. I appreciate your support and certainly all the kind comments that you guys leave. It's really nice to hear from you guys, and I wish you all the best. So thanks again, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.